Hello. Been a long time, but I'm back. All right. We got the incense going. Let's all grab a hot beverage, have a seat, and we're going to tell some ghost stories. I'm Kyla, and welcome to The Ghosts That Haunt Me. So, hello, here we are on my little couch, and I'm very comfy now. I've got my shawl on because I'm constantly freezing cold, especially this time of year. So, and I've got my hot beverage, so I hope you have yours too. And my aptly named mug. Thank you to my cousin who gave this to me for Christmas. It's very, very fitting. So, and it's good mocha. So, yes, it's been a long time since I've done a paranormal vlog, so I'm a little excited and a little bit nervous to do this one. But new year, and we're going under a new name. So my name is Kyla, and this is The Ghosts That Haunt Me. So yeah, new name, new year, new exciting things. I don't think I'll be able to do a vlog every week, but I'm hoping to be able to do at least one a month, maybe two. So if it's not bi-weekly, it'll be monthly. So that's what happens when you do it as a hobby, right? You can only do it when you can do it and not otherwise. So, yes, welcome to The Ghosts That Haunt Me. I'm very excited, and I'm very excited about this one because I wanted to do something a little bit different. This isn't just a vlog about stuff that has happened to me. I'm not entering a house and doing any sort of ghost hunting or anything today. Today, I'm just going to be telling some stories about Hollywood hauntings. So, famous people whose ghosts have been seen, sensed, or heard in California. So, to add to that, I had such a good time researching because I have a passion for the history of Hollywood, the history of cinema, that I'm thinking about doing a vlog bios once a month about different Hollywood actors. And I'm talking classic Hollywood, not today's Hollywood, but classic Hollywood. Like we're talking anything from the silence to the 60s, 70s. Actors who have passed on, performers who have passed on, and just their history, because some of their history is pretty good. When I get passionate about something, I love to read about the history of that thing. And I've always been passionate about acting. So naturally, I looked up classic actors. And I love everybody from Charles Chaplin to Theda Bara to up today, we're talking, Johnny Depp, Brad Pitt, Kate Blanchett, so I love the art of acting, and I love actors and singers and performers. And I think that would be a lot of fun for me to research and do one bio a month on a specific performer. I already have in mind who I want to do first. So let me know if you think that's a good idea. I want to do it. I'm really excited to do something like that just for my own edification. Like I said, I don't get paid for doing things like this. I just do it for the fun of it. And I hope that you enjoy listening to me talk about it. I think I've got a good storytelling voice. Well, I don't know. But we're going to get into these stories here today. But I do want to put up a little warning before we do. We're going to be talking about 3 very sad stories. And 2 of them specifically will be talking about someone taking their own life. And these are true stories. These did happen. The other one will be about a murder. So if you are sensitive to those kind of subjects and you don't want to talk, you don't want to listen to them, you don't want to hear about them, by all means, turn it off. Come back another day. We'll talk about ghosts from something else. You can see one of my singing videos, something like that. But if you are very sensitive to the subjects of taking your life or murder, I would suggest not listening to this vlog today. So I will pause for a minute. So if you want to go, you can go, and I wish you well. And if you are still here, I want to leave here a little mention about the suicide hotline in Canada, and I'm going to leave a phone number and a website. So if you feel like you have nowhere else to turn to, and you feel you're in that dark place, and I know because I've been there myself, I've been in that dark place where you feel like there's no hope, there is always someone to talk to. So for right now, let's just put that sign up right here, and you can talk to them, you can look up the website, you can text them. Just contact someone. There will always be someone to listen and someone to help. Okay, let's begin our stories. If you're still here, I welcome you, and I hope you enjoy what I have to say. Okay, so I'm going to have a sip of my drink. And I'm going to put that aside. I hope you were able to get your drink, and I hope you have a nice comfy sweater or a shawl or something to wear on this cold January day. But here we go. What I'm going to do is I have three separate people that I'd like to talk about, and I'm going to do a short bio of their life, and then talking about what the ghost story about this person is about, whether they are the ghost or whether the ghost story is something that happened to them or something interesting like that. At least I found these very interesting, so I hope you like them too. I do have photographs of these people, and I will be putting them up, but unfortunately, I don't know the photographers' names of any of these pictures. Being a photographer, I'd like to receive credit for work that I've done too. So whenever there's a photo and I know who the photographer is, I like to put their name somewhere on that photo. But unfortunately, I don't know any of these ones, so I do apologize for that. And but like I said, my research only goes so far when you're not getting paid and it's just a hobby, right? So, but I do try. I do try. So here we go. This one is well, they're all sad stories, but this one is a sad story too. Unfortunately, this woman did not become famous until after she died. So, um, I'm going to be talking about Peg Entwistle. And anybody who knows the history of Hollywood knows her ghost. So, Peg Entwistle, I'm going to be looking at my cheat sheet, so forgive me if I keep looking down, was born Millicent Lillian Entwistle, and she went by the name of Peg, and she was born on February 5th, 1908 in Wales. Her father, who's Robert Entwistle, he was a performer who performed on stage, and he divorced his wife. Now, there is some sort of weird mix-up. They don't know if Peg's mother died while she was around 11-ish or so, or if he simply divorced her and took the child and left. There has been little tidbits and little blurbs here and there where they found notes written by him saying, "This is my daughter and I don't want her mother around her at any time, even if I die." So it obviously sounds like it was a messy divorce. I don't know if the mother passed away or if she just was denied access to Peg, but basically after Robert divorces his wife, Peg never sees her biological mother ever again. So kind of like a passing, I guess. So in 1913 or 1916, Robert sailed to America with his daughter, and he ended up getting remarried. And in that process, Peg got two half brothers out of that. Robert got work as an actor. Sadly, his second wife passed away, so there is a record of that. So Peg did lose her stepmother as well as her natural mother. And then in 1922, Robert himself was killed when he was struck by a hit and run driver in New York City. So that's a big thing. So within her first 14 years of life, she lost three parents. So yeah, not good. And Peg and her two brothers were taken in by an uncle who sailed across the ocean with her and Robert. Now, this uncle was a manager of a Broadway actor whose name was Walter Hamden. And it wasn't long before Peg hit the stage herself. In 1925, Hamden gave her a walk-on part of his production of Hamlet, thus beginning her career. And while she was in New York, she did a lot of stage work, and she was very well received. Peg moved to Hollywood in either 1930 or 1931. She received bit parts in a few movies, but unfortunately, in all but one of those movies, every single scene she was in ended up on the cutting room floor. And the movie that she did do, that all of her stuff didn't end up on the cutting room floor. Majority of what she did ended up on the cutting room floor, and it had nothing to do with her acting. It was the censorship boards. The censorship boards were really, really harsh back then, and anything they deemed as like we're talking anything from like there being a bed with two people sleeping in the same bed, not doing anything else, just sleeping. You couldn't even have that. You couldn't have a toilet. In view. You had to have like two separate beds with a nightstand in between, so nobody could. Apparently the stork still came back then. It didn't. Nothing happened naturally. So like it was tough. It was obviously a blow to her self-esteem. Have everything that you want on the cutting room floor and everything you do. But she still did stage work, and she was still very well She was still very well received on the stage. She did have some emotional problems and some psychological demons. And a lot of people say that what happened to her in the end was because her career was tanking. And I don't think that that's solely it. I don't think people can kill themselves solely because their career takes off. There's obviously, to me, I don't know if it's true, but people have so many demons because life in general is difficult and complicated. I mean, before she was 15 years old, she lost her biological mother, her stepmother, and her father. She was married to a man, and it was not a good marriage, and the divorce was not a friendly divorce. So, you know, it's to have only been around in Hollywood for about a year, maybe a year and a half. It's so rare, and like we're talking minuscule for the chances for a person to skyrocket to immediate success, that I don't think what happened to her is solely because she thought her career was tanking. So that's I fully believe she had some form of depression, whether it be bipolar or just depression because of everything that had happened to her in such a short period of time. But September 1932, she told her uncle that she was going to go to the drugstore. And this is back when the drugstore was like the social spot. And people would go and have like, you know, ice cream shakes and stuff there and whatnot. And she was going to hang out with her friends. But she never returned home. On September 18th, 1932, Peg Entwistle's body was found on the mountain not far from the Hollywood land sign. This is back when the land was still on the word Hollywood, so it was Hollywood land. Instead of going to the drugstore, Peg walked up the mountain to the Hollywood land sign. She found a ladder that a workman had left behind. She used that ladder to climb to the top of the letter H, which is approximately 45 to 50 feet high, and she flung herself off that letter H. Her purse was found not far from the sign. Inside was a short, sad little note. I am afraid. I am a coward. I am sorry for everything. If I had done this a long time ago, it would have saved a lot of pain. P.E. She was only 24 years old. The irony in all this is the next day, she received a letter in the mail. Her aunt and uncle opened it, and what it was an acceptance for a role in a play in Hollywood, somewhere in Los Angeles. I honestly can't remember the name of the company. And it was a major role in a play. And in that play, her character commits suicide. So, yeah. So Peg Entwistle may have felt forgotten in life, but the manner of her death brought her fame that very few actors ever can achieve. It wasn't long before her ghost became one of the most famous in Hollywood. Okay, so now we're going to get to the ghost parts of Peg. So, sightings of Peg Entwistle's ghost began in the 1940s after the letter H that she had jumped from had fallen over. Now, the Hollywood sign had fallen into great disrepair, and it has been repaired and you know, fallen over several times. There's been earthquakes, all that sort of thing. And it's now a historical monument, but yeah, the original H that she had leapt from had fallen over in the 1940s. And after that, people started seeing her ghost a lot more often. A couple in the 1940s who had never even heard of the actress before had been hiking in the area. They claimed to have seen a woman dressed in 1930s attire wandering around the sign. Other people who have also seen the same woman claim to see this woman vanish before their eyes. Park rangers who have seen a ghost wandering around the H on the Hollywood sign. Some have seen a ghostly image of Peg standing atop the H. Park rangers can also smell gardenias, which is a flower that does not grow anywhere in that area, but was the scent of Peg's favorite perfume. Some people claim to see a woman floating / walking up towards the Hollywood sign. As time went on, the Hollywood sign became a national historical landmark, and to protect the sign and to protect the people, the sign had been blocked off, fenced up, barbed wire, everything. So if you ever consider going up there and seeing if you can get close to that H, seeing where, seeing if you can find the ghost of Peg, seeing if you can get close to the Hollywood sign. Don't. You will be stopped. You will be charged. You will be arrested. You will be fined, something along those lines. So do not go up there. Nowadays, there's video cameras, there's barbed wire, I have heard a rumor, I don't know if it's true, but if you get too close to a certain location before you even get to the fence, a helicopter is released to let you know that you're not supposed to be there. So I have seen the Hollywood sign. I was very close, as close as I think I could get to it. I'll see if I can find my picture of me standing as close to it as I got. And I don't even know if that was, too far away or too close or whatever, but that was my moment in the Hollywood sign. So if you are thinking about trying to go and ghost hunt Peg Entwistle, you can't. You can't get that close to the sign anymore. They will not let you. It's dangerous for the people. They don't want the sign damaged. And just flat out, if you're not going to be fined, you will be arrested. So just, that's my 2 cents on that. It's a great story, but don't. However, there are some people before the video cameras came that were able to sneak in. In 1988, a group of teenagers managed to... Sorry, my cheat sheet got out of control there. They managed to climb the fence and get to the sign. Like I said, do not do this. And they were there. Once they were leaving, apparently there was a slight accident. One of the children fell and fell quite a ways down the hill. They had to go search for this kid. They finally found him and they decided it was time to go home. So they left. As they were leaving, they spotted a young woman wearing heels and a veil over her face in a 1930s style dress. She was walking toward them, and though she was walking uphill in heels, the group said that she moved effortlessly and silently. They called out to her, but she never spoke. She just kept walking toward them. She eventually got close enough for them to see her face behind the veil. Now, I could not find out why this happened, but they became terrified once they saw her face. So I don't know if there was something wrong with her face or just the fact that they finally figured out that they're looking at a ghost. But they became terrified and they took off. They later saw pictures of Peg Entwistle and said, that's her, that's the woman we saw. We saw the ghost of Peg Entwistle. So, yeah, that's it. So the Hollywood sign is obviously one of the most recognizable landmarks in the United States, if not the world. And Peg Entwistle, because of the dramatic way she decided to take her own life, is one of the most famous ghosts in America, if not the world. So the Ghost Adventures crew, Zach Bagans and all them, they were there. They actually received a permit and they were there, and even they got stopped by the park rangers that were there. They basically were filming, they were doing their show, and the park rangers showed up and was like telling them you can't be here type of thing. So even though they had a permit showing, hey, we have permission to be here and stuff, they had to have all the papers available to show right away and things like that. So they are serious about this. Do not go close to the Hollywood sign. Like I said, where I think that might be as close as you can get. I don't know. I'm hoping maybe you can get closer, because I would like to go back again and maybe get a little bit closer. But yeah, I went to Hollywood once, and I am dying to go back there again. Oh, I shouldn't have said dying. No pun intended. I'm eager to go back to Hollywood. I would like to do that, and I would like to get as close to the sign as I possibly can, because I know I don't have the money to get a permit to go to go and actually touch the H. But yeah, so that's my big warning. That's the story about Peg Entwistle, a very sad story. And I'm hoping that her spirit that everybody is seeing is simply residual. And I'm hoping that she's not constantly just sticking around the place where she died, because who wants to do that? I mean, it is a beautiful view, don't get me wrong. But yeah, I'm hoping it's just a residual energy that everybody's seeing. I was there in a beautiful, bright, sunny day, so I clearly didn't see anything except the awesome sign. Okay, well, now the next person I'm going to talk about actually isn't even an actor. He is a very famous person in Hollywood in the 1930s, but not an actor. I'm going to be talking about Paul Byrne. And Paul Byrne was a Hollywood producer in the 1930s. So his story, very sad, very crazy. And this is just going to be a condensed version of his life. It's a great big long story, so I don't want to sit here and tell his whole story and then try and talk about any ghost stories. It would just take so long. But so this is a very condensed version of his life. So he was born Paul Levy on December 3rd, 1889 in what is now Hamburg, Germany. And I believe it was called Prussia at the time. In 1899, he and his family moved to New York City. And as a young man, he changed his name to Paul Byrne, and he became very interested in the theater and the arts, and he decided to take a stab at acting. And quickly discovered he was no actor. So he still enjoyed the arts and he still enjoyed the theater. So he stayed there, but only worked backstage. He never took the stage again. So he started working backstage, and then in the 1920s, he saw that the movies were huge over in California. So he moved to Hollywood and started working on film sets, and worked his ass off and worked up to becoming a big-time Hollywood full-time producer at the MGM Studios, or Metro Goldwyn Mayer. And Byrne met superstar actress Jean Harlow in 1930, before she was a superstar. And he quickly became her champion, as she was seen more as just a platinum blonde bombshell, a caricature, not a very good actress, and pretty much a joke in Hollywood that, who was going to fizzle out and be gone in not a long time. But Byrne saw something in her that everybody else did not see. He saw that she could be something, and he worked hard. He saw her talent and got her parts, got her a contract with MGM, and got her good parts where she could actually act rather than just be a blonde bombshell. And because of that, as a result of that, as starting to enjoy the work that she was receiving, she became this massive, huge superstar. I mean, like Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe's favorite actress, her idol, her icon was Jean Harlow. And I think a lot of that is thanks to Paul Byrne. And as a result, the two fell in love and got married. And they were married on June 2nd, 1932. Unfortunately, marital bliss was not to be. On September 5th, 1932, 2 months after they married, Paul Byrne was found naked in his bathroom, dead from a gunshot wound to the head. A gun was either found, I can't remember if it was found in his hand or if it was just found near the body. Now, there's a lot of conspiracy on how this man died. And it's crazy. There's so many different theories. And a lot of it stems from the fact that the studios were king back then. And the studio was called about the death before the police were called. So they got there and they cleaned it up and made it look as pretty as possible before the police showed up and figured out what happened. So they don't know. There is some theories that Paul Byrne was murdered. There are rumors that he could have taken his own life. There's all these different rumors. But the official coroner's report is Paul Byrne's cause of death was a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. So it is officially reported as a suicide. But there's a lot of people who think otherwise. But the idea was bolstered when the police found a note that Paul Byrne had left behind. The thing is, even there's a conspiracy with that. They don't know if the note was left at the time of his death or if it was something that he wrote to Jean earlier, or they have no idea. They don't, there's a lot of people who don't believe that this was a suicide note, but then there are other people that do. So, it's just one of those things where you have no idea, and we never will officially know. But this was, at the time, taken as a note to Jean when he took his life. And this is what it said. Dearest dear, unfortunately, this is the only way to make good the frightful wrong I have done you, and to wipe out my abject humiliation. I love you, Paul. You understand that last night was only a comedy. And then Jean Harlow went on to have her own life, and that one also was sad, but I'm going to do a whole bio on Jean, so actually be talking more about Paul Byrne in there, and I'll also be talking more about Jean Harlow's life. And yeah, so we'll go from there with that. And that was the end of Paul Byrne's life. Now, Paul Byrne's ghost story is only one story. I don't even know if it's true. There are a lot of people who claim that this story is not true, but there are also a lot of people who do claim it's true. It's just like his life, you know, it was all a conspiracy and everything. So, but I found it extremely interesting, and if it's true, it's terrifying. So, I do have this story, and I'm going to tell it, and it actually involves the next person I'm going to be talking to about. So, the house that Paul Byrne and Jean Harlow lived in was a mansion on Benedict Canyon in LA. This is also the house where he died. And in 1963, a celebrity hairstylist named Jay Sebring lived there in that house. Now, at the time, he was in a relationship with actress model Sharon Tate. She would stay there overnight, on weekends, and all that kind of thing. And she would also stay there when Jay Sebring wasn't there. Now, there is a story that Sharon Tate reportedly told her friends and even reportedly told a reporter. That's kind of where the controversy is, because they don't know whether or not she actually did tell this to a reporter, but there are friends who say that she did tell them this story. So we don't know. And again, like I said, we'll never know. So, anyway, this story is just so interesting. I had to put it in here. She said that she was spending time alone in the house while Sebring was out, I guess, on a set or doing whatever, but she was spending the night alone in this house. And she had been sleeping when she was awakened by a sound of rustling. So she opened her eyes, and there she saw a small man, whom she later described as Paul Byrne. And he's walking around the house, or walking around the room, and he's going through drawers, and he's rustling through papers, and he's looking for something. And naturally, you see a man in the room, it's going to freak you out. So she, crept out of the bed and ran out of the room and ran to the top of the stairs and started going down the stairs. And she said as she was down the stairs, she saw a figure at the bottom of the stairs, dead, murdered, with its throat slit from ear to ear and a rope tied around its neck. Now, the people that she told, her friends at the time, they were dismissing this. They were, apparently Sharon had a very vivid imagination and liked to tell stories and liked to tell ghost stories and things like that. So they dismissed it as that. They dismissed it as a waking dream. They dismissed it as an overactive imagination. However, in 1969, when she and Jay Sebring died in that exact same fashion, they all believed that she had a vision of her own fate. That's the only ghost story I have of Paul Byrne. And like I said, there's even controversy on whether or not it's true. But I just thought it was so interesting, and I kind of have a tendency to believe it. I really do. I'm thinking maybe in the only way he knew how, perhaps maybe Paul Byrne was trying to warn her that something was going to happen. I don't know. So, of course, the next story I want to talk about is Sharon Tate. So there's even some ghost stories about her. So I'm going to give, again, a very condensed bio of her life because I believe it's interesting enough that I'm going to probably end up doing a biography vlog on Sharon Tate someday, because she really truly was a wonderful human being, and I think she's worthy of, her life is worthy of saying not just how she died, but how she lived, because she was a very, very wonderful person. So the condensed version, before we get to the ghost stories, right here. She was born Sharon Tate on January 24th, 1943 in Dallas, Texas. She was in a military family. I think her father was a colonel, so she moved several times during her childhood. She grew up very shy and lacking in confidence, but everyone who ever knew her said she was a sweet, kind, and gentle person. In 1960, her father was stationed in Italy, so the family moved to Verona. It was there where Sharon decided to start doing background work for some movies, and her beauty quickly got attention. And when she and her family moved back to the States, she got an agent and started work in both television and became a model. After she met and then began a relationship with Jay Sebring, she started getting small parts in movies. While Sharon was working in London, England, she met the director Roman Polanski. And while they worked on a film together, they fell in love. I guess there's no accounting for taste on her part. She ended her relationship with Sebring, but they did remain the best of friends. She and Polanski married on January 20th, 1968, not long after they moved from London to Los Angeles, and her career really started to take off. Near the end of 1968, she was elated to discover that she was pregnant, and at about the same time, the couple moved into 10050 Cielo Drive on Benedict Canyon in Los Angeles. On July 20th, 1969, Sharon returned to LA after working on a film overseas. Polanski, who was also working on a separate project overseas, was slated to return to LA on August the 12th, just in time for the birth of their child. In the meantime, he asked friends, now please forgive me if I get this name wrong, I really don't want to, but I probably will, Wojciech Frykowski and Abigail Folger to stay with her at the house until Roman could return home. On August 8th, 1969, Sharon Tate, Jay Sebring, Wojciech Frykowski, Abigail Folger, and a young man named Stephen Perrant were all murdered by members of the Charles Manson family. Sharon Tate was 8.5 months pregnant with a boy whom was later named Paul, and that baby also died. I'm not going to go into the grisly details because that's not what this vlog is about. But I will say that if Sharon did see the vision that her friends and this reporter claim that she saw, then she was 100% correct. She had her throat slit and a rope tied around her neck. And that's all I'm going to say about that. In 1994, the house on Cielo Drive was demolished and a new one was constructed in its place. And even the house number was changed in hopes to obliterate the memory of the horrors that happened within that house. However, some memories did manage to stay behind. Now, before this house was torn down, many people rented it and lived in it. One of them even including the musician and performer Trent Reznor. He was one of those renters. And everybody who would rent 10050 Cielo Drive, they felt a very dark and unfriendly presence in the house all the time. Now, there was a report of a coyote who would just sit outside the house and stare at all the occupants inside. People reported electricity in the house constantly going haywire, and some even claimed to have seen shadow people. Some people who took bricks from the original house after it was torn down even claimed that shadow people followed them to their own homes. Make of those things what you will. It could just be they feel a dark presence because of the horrific history that happened within the house. Electricity does go haywire sometimes. It's just the way things go. Or it could be paranormal. You never know. Like I said, I do believe in shadow people and I do believe in ghosts and stuff. But this next part is always be careful who you hear the stories from, because sometimes people just are in it for the money. So, who I'm going to be talking about now is a gentleman whose house was built just like a stone throw away from the original house's foundation. And he claims to have experiences with ghosts every single day from the Tate house. I won't mention this person's name, but he says he sees apparitions, has poltergeist activity, has negative entities in the house all the time, etc., etc., etc. I'm not sure how much I believe in this guy. I've seen him in interviews, and it's right here, I just don't get a good vibe from this person. I feel like he's just making it all up and doing a really bad acting job for publicity and for money. I really don't see it as that. I mean, I could be completely wrong. I apologize to this guy if I do. But, I've seen him on different ghost shows, and he's always talking, and just, there's something about him. I get a not positive vibe from it. He also wrote his own book, so there could be, at the time he was trying to get publicity for his book. I just ain't getting it. don't know if I want to believe him. So, but um, yeah. So those are the ghost stories about that with that guy. And finally, the one final thing that 100% could be Sharon Tate, if it's true, is there is a report of a woman who was along that same street and she saw a pregnant woman who was bleeding walking down the street. Don't know what time of day this was. Don't know if it was night. Don't know if it was day. Nothing about. I know nothing about that. But that's the only thing that I could sit there and go, that would be Sharon Tate. So if it is haunted, I highly doubt that it is the conscious spirit of Sharon Tate. What happened to her, her son, and her friends was horrible. But she was such a kind person that I don't see her deliberately trying to scare or harm anybody as a negative entity. I just don't see her trying to do that or be that way with anyone. So if what we're seeing is true, then it's residual energy. It's just a repeat of everything that's going on. It is the residual energy, the feeling, the fear that came from that, but not the actual people that it happened to. That's my theory on that. You know, or it couldn't even, it might not even be them. It could be malevolent spirits that have nothing to do with them whatsoever. That some people are just picking up on. You know, logically, it could just be that these people know the tragedy of the house and they misinterpret normal things like, you know, like the electricity and stuff. Things that normally happen in a house, because it happened in that house, they're just misinterpreting it as paranormal. Or these stories could just be flat out lies. And I don't believe everybody out there is lying at all. But I do believe some people might be stretching the truth. So no ghosts except in the human mind. So that's my theory on that. I honestly believe that if it is the conscious spirit of Sharon Tate, it's not going to be malevolent. So any malevolence that anybody feels is either the residual energy of what happened or somebody else entirely different. So that's well, the important thing is that we look at these people who are gone and remember the lives they lived, not the way they were killed, because we don't need to give any more credit to the pieces of crap that did this to them. Okay, so those are my 3 stories from Hollywood today. So I hope you enjoyed them. I hope you didn't get too bored of me listening to me ramble on about Hollywood. But yeah, I enjoyed it very much. I really enjoyed looking up and learning about Hollywood stuff because, like I said, that is a passion of mine, and I think I'm going to do it. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to start doing a monthly bio of somebody in the history of Hollywood. So whether it be a director or an actor or a singer or something like that, somebody from Hollywood in the early cinema days, anywhere from like the teens up to, I don't know, the 60s, 70s. I don't know. But it's such a passion of mine. Acting is a passion. Photography is a passion. You know, I gotta get it out. So, so I hope that you're gonna enjoy and listen to those as well. And I hope you enjoyed these ones here today. And like I said before, let's not just look at how these people died. Let's look at how they lived. They all had very full lives, no matter how long or how short those lives were. They had lives, and they should be remembered for the accomplishments and what they achieved in life, and not just an apparition in the dark. And on that note, I am going to go. Time is up, so here we go. I'm hoping that the weather improves. We just got like bombarded with a bunch of snow within a week, so I've been doing a lot of shoveling this week. So I haven't been doing much else, just a lot of shoveling of heavy snow this week. But I'm hoping maybe to get outside, maybe do something else, do some more vlogs around some town or a theater or something, because I enjoy doing that, and I hope that you enjoy watching them. And, but if not, then I'll probably sit here and tell some more ghost stories. So I really hope you enjoyed these stories. This is Kyla, and I will be leaving you. This is The Ghosts That Haunt Me. And be sure to check in for The Boneyard with TJ Palmer. He interviews people all the time. He has actually started a radio program. It's called The Backbone Hour, and he is on these different radio stations. I will leave a link below. And, he's on, yeah, hopefully someday we'll be able to hear some Kyla music, maybe Maybe. But yeah, I've listened to those stations and I really enjoy them. There's music that I've never heard before that I've now downloaded because I love it. Like I've been introduced to some music because of that radio station. So for sure, the Backbone Hour, Fridays and Saturdays. And as I go, I'm going to leave again the number for the Talk Suicide Canada because it's important. We don't. If you feel like there's no place to go, you got one place to go. There's always going to be someone there to hear you, and they are there to help. So, on that note, at the very end, I'll leave the number and the website, and if you need it, please, please use it. And remember, just because your five senses can't detect it, doesn't mean it's not really happening. Have a great day, everybody.